Hey everyone. I'm outside today. I want to give an update on the dog situation. So I posted a video a few months ago talking about how my ex got rid of my son's dog out of anger. Um, it happened back in January. So first of all, my son is thankfully doing a lot better. So I've actually managed to get her to acknowledge that she made a big mistake. Uh, she acknowledged that she broke his heart. She acknowledged that it was her fault. Um, she has actually got a counselor for my son, that she will possibly attend counseling sessions with him as well. Got her to acknowledge that she is narcissistic. Got her to do a complete 180. It hasn't been easy, but I've seemingly managed to do the impossible. I am still skeptical. As we all know, they are very good at putting on a facade. I am about 50-50 certain that it's genuine, which is more than I've had in the last decade. And the reason why I'm more optimistic is because, well, let's just say that if it is fake, she's never faked this before. So it's new. It's the first time she's not trying to put blame on everyone and everything else. So who knows? Maybe it's just her attempt at a Hail Mary distraction. Maybe not. Either way, I want to share, I've got my notes here. I want to share how I've been able to do this, because I know a lot of you are struggling in relationships with people that are like this. So the two biggest things, and I got 4 main points. The single biggest point is when you're talking, to stay on your topic, right? So we know that somebody who is cluster B, either narcissistic, borderline, histrionic, they get very anxious, panicky the moment that a negative light even starts to come towards them. They deflect. It's not me, not me, not me. It's you, right? They're always flipping it on people, putting it back on people, changing the subject, triangulating, gaslighting. No, that's not at all what I was doing, right? To avoid that negative light. And it very well comes from a childhood where the moment where they were the scapegoat as a kid, right? They don't like that feeling. And it's perfectly understandable, right? So anytime you have to find fault with somebody that's got the psychology, you have to stay on topic. You go into the conversation knowing full well they're going to be changing the subject. They're going to be putting it back on you. They're going to be putting it on somebody else. It's going to go anywhere but them, right? So you, and they're just like little Jedi Knights, with their lightsabers, whatever. So here's what you do. You know what they're going to do. You know they're going to change the subject. You know they're going to triangulate. And the most important thing of all, they're going to interrupt. So, what did I do about all of this? I learned something very good, and that's this. Hold the conversation hostage. Silence works really well. So anytime they change the subject, anytime they do anything, especially when they interrupt. Like when they interrupt, it's because it's so important that they say this before you're done speaking your thoughts, right? So they interrupt you. Well, back to what I was saying, and you just pick it right up. So as you're talking, if you know they're going to interrupt, as you're talking, you have to keep in your head exactly where you are in your thoughts. And as soon as they interrupt, and they will, as soon as they interrupt, you make a mental note of exactly where you were. And after they interrupt, it doesn't matter what they say, because we know that the interruption is to avoid fault. Period. Right? So you let them interrupt. Fine. Speak your thoughts. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Right? That is so powerful, and it's going to annoy the hell out of them. And so after you do that a few times, you can say, look, what we're talking about is a complex thing. And if I can't get my full, complete thoughts out without you interrupting, this conversation is going to go nowhere. I'm still trying to say the same thing I was saying before you interrupted. If you don't like that, don't interrupt me so I can actually get my thoughts out, because I don't interrupt you. Even though you interrupted me, I allowed you to interrupt. I did. But if I'm not even going to be able to talk, then this conversation is pointless, and I'll just go about my day, because I don't need to talk to you about this. I'm trying to help, right? You can also say things like, well, let's not change the subject, because they're going to change the subject. You say, well, back to what I was saying. Let's not change the subject. You can say, that's a good point, but let's stay on topic for now. We'll discuss that in the future. Oh, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I didn't say we're not going to talk about it. I'm just saying right now, we'll save that for a future conversation. I'm writing it down, so it will get talked about. But for now, let's stay on the current subject. Okay? This brings me up to main point number 2, remaining calm. Use an ambiguous vocal tone. Like, you hear the way I talk. Part of it is because I've recently found out I'm on the autism spectrum. Not severe enough to be clinically diagnosed with any particular disorder or syndrome, but it's classified as Asperger's syndrome. And it's like, if this is the level to be clinically diagnosed, I'm somewhere like right here. They call it ASPE, where I'm just autistic enough to be really good at math and physics and stuff, and awkward in social situations, but not so high that I need societal intervention, right? But anyways, one of those things is using a robotic tone of voice, or essentially a monotone voice, which I didn't know, but it makes a lot of sense. So you use an ambiguous vocal tone with them, so that because they're so manipulative, and a big part of narcissism drives off of they're wanting to get an emotional response out of you, because they want to work you, they want to play you, they want to manipulate you, and they need the feedback to know if what they're doing is working on you. So when you're ambiguous with your tone, your mannerisms, your poker face, it's going to drive them crazy, and you will see them do this. You will see them roll through their whole playbook of manipulation tactics. I'll try this, I'll try this, I'll try that. And when you react the exact same way to everything, they're going to start to get really frustrated with you. And you can say, I don't understand why you're getting frustrated with me right now. Literally, we're talking about you getting rid of my son's dog. Like that's all this conversation has been about. I'm just trying to talk to you about how you got rid of his dog. You're talking about all these other things, which is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about one thing. You're talking about like 10 different things, but you're frustrated that I'm only talking about the one thing I called you about. I called you to discuss our son and the dog. That's why I called you. Right. And I say, I can't tell if you're being serious or if you're being sarcastic or if you're joking. It's like, well, I'm not being sarcastic. Why would I be joking? I don't think this is a funny situation. I think this is a serious situation. Right? I can't tell if you're mad. Well, if you can't tell if I'm mad, then I'm probably not mad, because if I was angry, you would know it. And so, but the thing is, you can have all these feelings behind the tone, but you're just not going to speak in a way that reveals your feelings, because that's kind of like turning your cards over in a poker game, especially with people like this. So you don't want to give them that information, not without them paying for it. So you hide your true feelings and pick a tone that works for you. This is my tone. All of your feelings should sound the same. This will confuse them. It's like, I'm not able to manipulate them like I once was. They don't actually think that in that form, but that's where their frustration is going to come from, right? You used to be a flying monkey, now you're not. You're a, I don't know, walking monkey. I don't know. Anyways, point number 3, and this one's going to be a tough one for you, but hear me out on this, because it works. And that is, constantly reassure them that you are not criticizing them, that nobody's attacking them, and that they don't need to be defensive. Like, I'm not attacking you on this. Like, nobody's attacking you. Nobody's criticizing you. And you can damn well actually be critical of them, but there is such a thing as constructive criticism. But don't say that. You just say, why are you being upset? Like, nobody's attacking you here. Nobody's, like, why are you being defensive? There's nothing to be defensive about. It's like, yeah, it's an uncomfortable topic, but just because the topic's uncomfortable doesn't automatically mean somebody's criticizing you or attacking you. It just means this is an unpleasant subject to talk about. I don't want to be talking about it, but now I have to. So settle down. Suck it up, buttercup. Nobody's attacking you. You don't need to defend yourself. And now, maybe say something like, you've done nothing wrong. Now, you don't have to truly agree with that statement when you say it. But understand something. Keep the goal in mind of where you're trying to go. If you can disarm some of their automatic self-defense mechanisms, if you can disarm them a little bit by saying it, then say it. You've done nothing wrong, and then you proceed to talk about all the things that they've done wrong while telling them that they've done nothing wrong. They don't know how to take it, and as they're trying to process it, they're going to process exactly everything that you are saying too. Now, yes, that is a form of gaslighting. Is it always ethical? No, and you should never do something like that in an unethical manner. But again, especially when it comes to co-parenting and stuff like that, if you've got to deliver a message home for the greater good, that's how you determine the ethics, right? And as I said, I've been able to get her to admit that she was wrong. She actually fundamentally sees what she did wrong now, and she's actually legitimately working on fixing the situation. And it's because I told her our son is legitimately on the path to hating you and Daniel into his adulthood, well into his adulthood, and probably for most of his life, if we don't fix it now. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for him, because I don't want my son hating a parent into adulthood, because I hated my father until after he was dead. And now that I have kids, I can kind of understand why he was the way he was, because I'm a lot like him. And if I could say one thing to my father now, it would be, Dad, I understand. I finally understand. Right? But I I can't get that back, right? I don't want that for my son. My ex hates her mother. They've got a terrible relationship. I tell her this, like, that hasn't been great for you, has it? How has that worked for you? Not good? Right. It's like, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for my son because I care about his mental health. Right? And that was the other thing, too, is she was able to swallow and tolerate some of the critical statements that I made about the situation. She tolerated it because I said, understand, like, because she was saying something like, this feels so underhanded. I feel like you calling me is underhanded. And I said, really? This feels underhanded. I was like, listen, if I wanted to be underhanded, why the fuck would I even call you? Like, if my goal was to be the favorite parent and to have him love me and hate you, you just handed me that on a silver platter. I don't have to do a goddamn thing. I don't have to lift a finger to make that happen. The fact I'm calling you ought to be proof enough that there's nothing underhanded about this. If you want me to be underhanded, then I'll just shut the hell up and let you dig your own grave. But it's not about that, because I don't really give a shit about competitions. I care about, like, my son's mental health as a child, teenager, and adult. Right? So if you want to make it a competition, good luck. You lost already. That's not why I'm doing this. So, and I think my situation was kind of unique in the sense that was absolutely true, right? There's literally no way to spin me helping as being underhanded, right? So, that helps. And the last point, and last but not least, is when you talk, use emotionally based language, right? Statements like, well, it's because I feel like it, because I want to, because I don't want to, right? I don't feel like it because I don't want to, right? A lot of people make mistakes of when you talk to people with this type of psychology, the cluster B psychology, you think that you can speak to them rationally, but they are irrational people. That's the fundamental core pathogen of this psychology, is emotional reasoning. They are not logical. They are not rational. It is emotional reasoning, which is by definition, literal definition, is irrational. So when you speak to them, it works a lot better to just give your reasons as because I want to, because I don't want to, well, because that's what I felt like doing or I didn't feel like doing. They understand it. They get it, right? Which is insane. But how often have you ever heard, I don't feel like it, from them? A lot, right? So, and I'm sure in the past you've given them your explanations and your reasons for doing all these things, and they're just like, oh, God, enough, shut up, right? So it actually works a lot better if you just say, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like it. Yeah. Well, why don't you feel like it? I just don't feel like it. You ever felt like not doing something? You ever not felt like doing anything? You ever felt like not working on a relationship? Yeah, all the time? Yeah, okay. Well, I don't feel like doing this. Okay? And it works. And because the only way that they can combat that is to say, well, you shouldn't feel like that. Or you shouldn't want to. Really? You're going to tell me how to feel? Thanks. You're going to control my feelings now? Okay, how else should I feel? No, go ahead, tell me how else should I feel about the situation? I want to know, because I, for one, don't like the way that I feel. I would prefer to feel differently. Unfortunately, you're not helping me feel different. Not with that attitude, right? So, all of these things have worked well in the last couple of months, so I just want to share these with you guys. I hope this helps somebody. Please. All right, there go my notes. I want to hear your comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I do read them from time to time. I'll try and comment back. If this helps you, or if you know somebody that needs to watch this video, share it with them. Hope this helps. I'll see you guys on another video.